it's E-sah. Thank you for clicking on this video. Today, I'm going to be talking about personal style, i.e. my personal style journey and some ways in which I have curated my own personal style over time. I'm gonna start with talking about how my style has shifted throughout the years because I have been on a long, winding journey to get to where I am today. We'll start in middle school. Back when I was a youngin', I definitely felt the pressures of middle school life. I wore Abercrombie, Ugg boots, and a juicy jacket. I wasn't completely dripping in that attire, but I definitely wanted to fit in to what the popular kids were wearing at the time. Into high school, I started experimenting more with my personal style. I started shopping secondhand, finding bits and pieces that were very unique and that I could play around with. I definitely had some very strange pairings during high school. I wasn't really that good at styling per se, but I did have a few really cool items. I had a pair of Jeffrey Campbell boots with this like gold plate on the front and like cut out holes on the side. I would wear those to school sometimes just because I liked them so much, but I remember people looking at me because they were like, why is she wearing those crazy boots to school? Like, that doesn't make much sense. But I didn't really care, and I think towards the end of high school I did stop caring about what people thought because I did really love fashion and it just felt so amazing being able to express myself outwardly. For college, I went to school in San Francisco, and there I was definitely influenced by the style of my peers, of the city, and also the weather because San Francisco tends to get chilly and foggy. It was all about the layering. I worked at American Apparel for a little bit, and so I was wearing a lot of disco pants and crop tops. But then as my college life kept trudging on, I definitely gravitated more towards denim jackets, beanies, Doc Martens, sort of sticking again with the style box of where I was living. I also started playing around with color a little bit more, painting stars on my face, wearing glitter, very much over the top. During this time, I also started wearing a little bit more masculine clothing. I've never been a girly girl at all. I've always felt more attuned to a gender neutral type of look. And I was definitely playing around with that a lot towards the end of college. During my undergrad, I also had the opportunity to study abroad. I ended up going to Berlin in the spring of 2017. Actually, it was more like the winter of 2017 because I came in January and it was bitter cold. It was the coldest I have ever been, but the city itself was so amazing and the style, what people wore on the streets of Berlin was so inspiring. In Berlin, people are so cool. There's a lot of artists and definitely the influence from the fall of the wall and East Germany being open to creatives is still evident. People really dress however they want and have such a unique way of pairing things together. I saw so much inspirational fashion just walking down the streets of Kreuzberg and Friedrichshain, and I would always take mental notes like, ooh, like I really like that jacket, or wow, those shoes are super awesome, because people just dress so well. I could eat up the style in Berlin. Coming back from study abroad to San Francisco, I could definitely see aspects that I took from the way people styled in Berlin and the way I ended up styling myself in Berlin brought back to San Francisco. And I think that was a bit of the gateway into my high fashionness because Berlin people were definitely attuned to tailored silhouettes and avant-garde wear and a bit of club wear obviously thrown into the mix too. And that was all stuff that I saw as so experiential and so unique and very much that attitude of, I don't give a f and I look good. Post-grad, I spent a year doing a bit of soul searching, traveling, meeting new people, going out, and this definitely also influenced my style holistically. Flash forward to New York, where I lived last year, I dwindled away from a very colorful style, I think because of living in a city like New York, where the stereotype of wearing all black really does hold true. I integrated more basic wear pieces into my wardrobe. I also shed all clothing that was really tight and started to wear stuff that was instead more aesthetically pleasing in the sense of like geometric lines, more avant-garde fashion, but loose and drawstring and stretch waistband. You catch my drift. I was also working at a vintage store in New York, and I became a big designer fiend during that time. I love archive clothing, so runway designer clothes from the 90s into early 2000s. And during my time in New York, I started to collect clothing from this time period. Flash forward to today, I would say my style now is definitely pulling from those designer pieces, but adding a comfy flair to them. So that's where I'm at now, having gone through my entire journey. I say this because this style transformation didn't happen overnight. Personal style does take time. It is a natural transition that sometimes you don't even notice that is happening. I wanted to think a little bit more about how I got to this point in my journey. And I think a big part of it is that you need to be inspired. So for me, that meant really finding out more about who I am as a person and what I like and what I dislike. Although this is something that's constantly shifting because we are humans and we're not going to be the same day in, day out, I do think it's really important to synthesize all of the things that you're into under one category. So whether that be going to Pinterest and pinning inspiration, outfit ideas, or having a folder on your computer where you compile all the images, or even saving images on Instagram. That's what I tend to do because I'm a little bit lazy. And so to have it on Instagram just under my saved folder really helps me to draw inspiration about what silhouettes I'm into, which colors I'm into, which patterns I'm into, as well as any designers that I'm looking towards for inspiration. I think you can really find inspiration from wherever you look, whether that be influencers, celebrities, films, TV shows, even street style. I am super influenced by street style, what people wear out and about, and I think I really draw from that when I go about creating my outward aesthetic and choosing what I'm going to wear. It's important to think about the practicality, which gets me to my next point, which is be realistic. When curating your personal style, you want to be attuned to the weather, you want to be attuned to even your body type. I mean, people can wear obviously whatever they want, but I personally am someone who for a while was wearing a lot of box cut t-shirts, and that was definitely a phase in my life. But as I've gotten a bit older and I've just been more into my body shape and what looks good on me, I definitely am resorting to more form-fitting pieces. And that doesn't mean pieces that are really tight and restrictive, but just stuff that, for instance, fits my shoulders. I have very narrow shoulders, so I'm always having a problem with jackets and tops being a bit football player on me. So that's one of my requirements when I'm looking for garments is, will they fit my body shape? I also think that if you are in the phase of your life where you're doing a lot of experimentation, you're kind of seeing what works for you, what doesn't, maybe you're pulling from all different styles, I think it's really helpful to thrift. I say that because I think a lot of times fast fashion caters to trendy clothing. However, since fashion pulls from decades before, through thrifting, you can find pieces that are, one, good quality, two, fit into these trends, and at the same time, you're playing into sustainable fashion. There's also rental services. So if you're going to an event and you want a new dress, but you don't necessarily want to pay the money, and it's also just going to be a garment that's hanging in your closet forever, I really do recommend rental. Lastly, also swapping. Swap with your friends. I've only done this a few times, honestly, but in the times that I have done it, I have been able to rock really cool pieces. My next point is to be adaptable. As I spoke about earlier in this video, sometimes we shift styles, and that's totally okay. The person I was 5-10 years ago isn't the same person that's sitting here today talking to you. And I think that's really important to note, because I think a lot of times people feel the need to be so boxed in because of their friends or the aesthetic that they've created on the internet. If you're not wearing exactly what your friends are wearing, that is amazing. And if you're wearing what they're wearing, that is also amazing. So just being able to be flexible about the shifts in your style. I'm not here to patrol you on your buying decisions. I don't want to be the one to be like, no fast fashion, don't do it, because you know, you can make the decision for yourself, but I do think that buying secondhand is really important when it comes to being adaptable about the style that you're trying to curate. Finally, this is my favorite tip: be conscious. So when you purchase clothing, you always have to think about where this clothing comes from, how it's made, who the company is that's selling to me. These are all things that come into play when you are also developing your personal style. I, for one, back in the day, wasn't that attuned to making buying decisions based on ethics. In middle school, I would just go to the mall with friends and we'd kill time there, walking around, buying. But after educating myself, looking towards influencers in the space, reading articles, I know a lot more about ethical fashion, and I feel that this is one of my values. I really enjoy supporting local, handmade, and small artists on what they are creating. And I think that's a great way to have a unique piece that nobody else has, and also being able to wear your values at the same time. Clothes do send a message to whoever it is you're talking to, not just on your style, but on what you believe in. Personal style is all about having fun. Fashion is about dressing up, looking confident. I just wanted to give my own advice on the topic, having been through a lot of different style boxes at this point. At the gist of it is having that awareness of, this is me, this is what I want to represent, and these are the clothes that I am going to ornate myself with. I'm about to turn 24, and just looking back at photos of myself when I was younger and seeing what I used to wear up until now is just so fascinating. Let this be a message of reassurance that even if you're not feeling a hundo P on your style right now, you will get to the point where you will shine. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you have any other tips on how to curate your style, please do leave me a comment below. I would love to hear them. Let me know what you wore in middle school. I'm very intrigued. There were a lot of trends going on at the time that I think were very, very interesting. Please do give this video a thumbs up. Also subscribe to my channel down below for more videos to come. And I look forward to seeing you in my next video. Have a lovely day. Bye.